Hello viewers, I'm Ishani Mehra, Managing Faculty, Vivek Tech, English, Arts and Science Center. Today, we have with us two specialists from the field of medicine, Dr. Abhishek Sachdeva, an eye specialist from Sachdeva Netralaya, and Dr. Akriti Gupta, a gynecologist. As we all know, diabetes is very common nowadays. So today, they will be throwing some light on effect of diabetes in pregnancy and its effect on eyes. So my first question is to you, Dr. Akriti. Is there really a need to talk about gestational diabetes mellitus or GDM?
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, as you all know, that diabetes is now a global pandemic, and it's one of the most common non-infectious diseases which is on
Yes.
rise, besides being in pregnant and non-pregnant women. So definitely, diabetes has to be discussed in pregnancy as well. So it happens like this, that when a woman develops pregnancy diabetes for the first time, anytime during her pregnancy, it is called as gestational diabetes mellitus. And
Okay.
gestational diabetes mellitus has influence on the female health during her pregnancy. Also, it has an influence on the baby's health, which is inside the womb. So in utero also, it plays a role in the development of the baby. So that is the reason why we need to discuss about gestational diabetes mellitus. Secondly, there's another thing that once the female has GDM, it also predisposes the baby, whether it's a male or a female, genetically to diabetes. So in order, once we control GDM in pregnancy, or once we diagnose it and control it, so we actually have a check on the predisposition of the baby in adulthood to diabetes. So we'll check that as well. So that is the other reason why we need to discuss GDM.
All right. So we know the importance of addressing the issue. How can we diagnose it?
Actually, diagnosis of GDM usually it is done by two methods. There's an indigenous method which is developed in India, which is called as DIPSI. So it stands
Okay.
for Diabetes in Pregnancy Study of India. So it was seen that if we give 75 grams of glucose in 1 liter of water to a lady when she visits us in the clinic, and we ask her to drink it over half an hour, so a blood sample is collected after 2 hours of this once the sample is the patient has drunk the sample. So after 2 hours they
All
collect the
right.
blood sample. So if the value, we have decided a cutoff, so this test is actually according to the Indian ethnicity. So we all fall into a high, the females of Indian origin, they fall into high ethnic group. So the cutoffs taken is at 140 milligram per deciliter. So that is the basic cutoff which we follow. So if we divide two into less than 140 and more than 140, so what will we get? So if it is less than 140, so there can be two subcategories in this. That first is that the first is that if it is between 120 and 140, it will be called as impaired glucose tolerance. And if it is less than 120, it will be considered as normal.
Okay.
Second group, which was more than 140. So if it is more than 140, it will be labeled, the lady will be labeled as gestational diabetes mellitus. But if suppose it is beyond 200 on that 2 hour recording, so it will be directly called as diabetes mellitus of pregnancy. So these are those group of women who were previously suffering from diabetes, but they did not undergo any blood test before their pregnancy. And now in the first time
All
when they
right.
came for pregnancy, after they got their blood test done, so their sugar levels came out to be directly 200. So they are basically the ones who had already had diabetes, but they had never got diagnosed. So they are the diabetes mellitus in pregnancy. So this is one category, one way in which we can diagnose, that is DIPSI. Second question comes that do we need to do this test for all pregnant women? So for Indian women, which I told you as that they are the high risk ethnic group. So the Asians are the high risk ethnic group. We have to undergo a universal screening for all the pregnant women, irrespective of whatever age and whatever part of the country they are from. We have to undergo this test, and it has to be done as early as possible. So if she comes at the first visit, or if she's coming at 10 weeks or 12 weeks, the first visit she makes, you have to do the blood test, that is the DIPSI. And suppose if it comes out to be less than 140, do we just simply say that she is not suffering from diabetes? So it is not like that. We have to again do this test at the third trimester. That means around 24 to 28 weeks, means around 7th to 8th month, in between that time. So that, because since we are in the high risk group, we can develop this diabetes even in the third trimester, which is actually the predominant period when the increased levels of glucose happen in the body, in the female body during pregnancy. So we have to recheck it. And then only once it is less than 140, we call her that she's not GDM, and then go ahead with that. So there's another word I want to tell about, is about the second test, which is the WHO OGTT, that is the oral glucose tolerance test. But since majority of the doctors in India, they're doing DIPSI, so OGTT I'll not discuss in detail. The only disadvantage of OGTT is that it requires the lady to be fasting for 8 hours, unlike DIPSI. So anytime if she comes, even if she's not fasting, if she's had her breakfast or lunch, you can undergo DIPSI for that lady. However, OGTT, you need a minimum 8 hours fasting before doing that test. So the dropout rate is less with DIPSI. And second, it requires 3 blood samples instead of just 1 blood sample in DIPSI. So that's again another disadvantage of OGTT.
Okay, moving ahead, how does diabetes affect the mother and the baby?
So for the mother, basically when she develops GDM during her pregnancy, that is the diabetes during pregnancy, so she actually predisposes herself to other things, like she can develop hypertension, that is the hypertension of pregnancy also. That is one risk factor she develops. Moreover, there is increased chances that she might undergo induction of labor. She might have to have a plan her labor. Then she might undergo cesarean. So the risks increase. These are also because of the other factors associated, which are related to the baby. That is, there is increased weight of the baby. That is called as macrosomia. So basically, macrosomia literally means that more than 4 kg weight baby is born. So this increases the risk of having a cesarean section. So that is also another risk factor. Then in the baby, besides macrosomia, the babies, they are prone to have birth injuries during the normal delivery if they are heavy weight. So they are prone to have birth injuries. Also, there is sometimes difficulty in the delivery of the shoulder of the baby, which is in medical terms called as shoulder dystocia. So that also increases the risk of nerve injury, injury to the arm, the humerus, the bone. So that is another thing which happens to the baby. Also, the babies, they tend to have stillbirth. That is, stillbirth by it means that inside the womb only there are some unknown reasons, or sometimes the sugars are so uncontrolled that there can be the death inside the womb itself. So all of a sudden there'll be a death of the baby. So that's called stillbirth. They are also predisposed to stillbirth. So these are certain things why we need to talk about GDM, and why the monitoring is very important, and why we need to start the patient on treatment as early as possible.
Okay, so now we know how does diabetes affect the mother and the child. So here another question arises. What is the effect of pregnancy on diabetes?
Yeah, that is also a very important question. Suppose if a lady is already suffering from diabetes, she now enters into pregnancy. So what will happen? So besides having all the risk factors, like she will have hypertension, or she will land up into macrosomic baby, or there are increased chances of cesarean, the diabetes course is also affected, like the problems of proteinuria, which is concerned with the kidneys, that can get aggravated. Also, the related to the eyes, retinopathy, whether it's progressive or non-progressive retinopathy, that tends to aggravate. So we need to talk to the patient and inform the patient that they need to consult ophthalmologist and a concerned renal specialist whenever the need arises. For that, Dr. Sachdeva will talk about the retinopathy in detail.
Okay, so after hearing all this, a lot of curiosity arises about the treatment. Can you explain about the treatment? A little about the treatment?
Yeah. So actually, the treatment only we start as once we see the DIPSI, the test. We told that 2 hours post the glucose intake, the value was more than 140. So we think in mind, and now we to start the treatment for the lady. So the first and basic foremost is the lifestyle change, which we ask the patient to undergo. So we give a limit of 2 weeks in which we ask the patient to change the diet. That means the high glycemic foods are to be reduced, the low glycemic foods, and also the protein intake has to be increased. Plus, a lot of water she has to take a lot of water so as to balance the proteins which are increased in the diet. So this is the dietary change she has to do. Also, a little bit some moderate activity exercise has to be done to have to balance between the life, get a balanced lifestyle. So the first and foremost is the nutritional management. That is for 2 weeks we ask her to follow. Now we set cutoffs for the patient. Like for example, the fasting sugars should be less than 90 and the 2 hours sugar should be less than 120. So these are the cutoffs we give to the patient. If by 2 weeks of time you are able to get the cutoff to this, your treatment will be just nutritional modification. So suppose if she doesn't achieve that goal, then we go ahead with the tablet formulations. That is mostly, as you've heard, metformin is the most commonly used drug, and that is the most commonly used drug in pregnancy also for diabetes. So we start with a smaller dose, either 250 or 500, depending upon the weight, and we increase it as twice daily dose or thrice daily according to the adjustment of the sugars. So this is for the next 2 weeks, we put her on the formulations, the oral hypoglycemic formulations, if the nutritional therapy has not helped alone. For this is followed by next 2 weeks. And if again she's not able to achieve the cutoff of fasting and the postprandial, that is 90 and 120, we go ahead with the other option, that is the injectables, and that is the insulin. So insulin is to be given with the nutritional therapy, with or without the oral hypoglycemic drugs, depending upon the adjustment of the sugar levels, and that has to be decided by the treating obstetrician along with the endocrinologist.
All right. I think after listening to you, a lot of pregnant females would feel a little less anxious. Moving forward, we would now like to ask Dr. Abhishek Sachdeva, how does this disease, that is diabetes, affect eyes? So my first question, and the very important but a basic question is, does diabetes affect eyes?
Yeah, hello. I'm Dr. Abhishek, an eye specialist. Yes, diabetes does affect eyes, and in fact, it affects all the part of the eyes, but mostly it affects the retina, that is the posterior most part of the eye, जिसको हम normal भाषा में पर्दा बोलते हैं. So diabetes does affect the retina or the parda of the eye.
Okay, now we know that it does. How does our eyes get affected?
So, because as we know that diabetes is a modified risk factor. So there are two types of factors, modified and non-modified. So this is a modifiable risk factor or a lifestyle disorder. So this can be corrected. So the thing is ki in this diabetes, there is increase in the blood glucose level in the blood vessels. So in the blood vessels, if the blood glucose levels rises, so the blood vessels of the retina, the fluid or the blood, it tries to come out of the blood vessel. So in the retina, there is the collection of blood and water or the fluid on the retina.
Okay. Are there any latest investigations available?
So yes, there are a lot of investigations that are carried out nowadays. So the most important investigation and the oldest investigation is the dilated fundus examination. So when a patient goes to an ophthalmologist, so what he does is he puts a dilator eye drops and the patient has to wait for kind of 10-15 minutes. And after like 10-15 minutes, the ophthalmologist sees the patient again. So during that time, the pupil of the patient dilates, and so that the ophthalmologist can see the posterior part of the eye or the retina very properly. So with the dilated fundus examination, it is very much easier for the ophthalmologist to comment upon the retina or the effect of the diabetes on the retina.
All right.
And when it comes to the latest investigations, there is an investigation called as an OCT, which is the kind of CT scan of the eye in a very simpler language. So we do an OCT, which is a non-invasive invasive technique. So nothing is injected inside the patient. So it's just that the patient has to sit in front of a computer kind of an instrument, and the computer takes the picture of the posterior most part of the retina, which is a very latest and a very useful technique. The other thing that is done is called as a FFA. It's the fundus fluorescent angiography. So it's like any other angiography. What we do is we inject a dye from the patient's hand, and the dye goes to the eyes, and we kind of see the blood vessels of the eyes. So the retinopathy is very important for the overall diabetic management of the patient as well, because eyes are that part of the body where the blood vessels are visible. So because of this, the when we in the fundus fluorescent angiography, we kind of see the leakage of the dye or the other changes that are seen. So the OCT and FFA are the very latest and very useful techniques that are followed.
Okay, understood. So, as rightly said, prevention is better than cure. Can you tell us about how to prevent its effect?
So as I mentioned, that diabetes is a modifiable risk factor, and it's a lifestyle disorder. So it's better is the damage that is gone to the retina is not a very जिसको हम नॉर्मल भाषा में बोलते हैं एक अच्छा उसका प्रोग्नोसिस नहीं होता है. It's not a very good prognosis. So the thing is कि it's better to prevent it, and the prevention is like any other effect of diabetes. The best thing is to control the diabetes as far as possible.
Yes.
To control the blood sugar level as far as possible. For that, we have to take the proper diet as mentioned by Dr. Saab, and other exercises the patient has to undergo, and so that the blood sugar level remains low and in a normal limit, and the effect of retinopathy is decreased as far as possible.
So, my last question will be same for you as well. What are the treatment options available?
Yeah, so with the in this era, the treatment options are there are a lot of treatment options. So when we first start, if all the sugar control and other uh, lifestyle disorders, if still the persistence of the diabetic retinopathy still continues, so what we do is we start with an NSAID. So that reduces the effect of the diabetes on the eye. So if the patient is not improved with the drop also, so then the patient has to undergo certain injections. These are intravitreal injections, which are nowadays we inject into the patient eyes. So if he doesn't improve with intravitreal injections, or there is some laser therapy that the patient has to undergo. So if both with laser therapy and with intravitreal injection, the patient doesn't improve, so then we have to think of surgery, which is vitrectomy in this case. So we have to kind of, because there is blood that gets in front of the patient's retina, so we have to remove that blood, so that as we know that the image is formed on the retina, so we have to remove the blood that is in front of the retina, so that the image is formed on the retina, and the patient vision improves.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Abhishek and Dr. Akriti, for giving us these insights. And thank you, viewers, for listening us till the end. In case you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.